Hello friends, today I'm going to show you how to draw a monarch butterfly. And I know it looks complicated, but I basically went off this drawing and I drew this butterfly. I'm going to show you step by step. I know that you can do this, so here we go. I've taped the edges of my paper because I plan to paint this, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't run the edges of the butterfly off into the edges where I wouldn't be able to paint. The first thing I want you to do is kind of locate halfway in your paper, and we're going to just do this butterfly body. And it's kind of a pointy hump, kind of like a snake head maybe. And then we get narrow through the middle and fatter at the bottom. So we come and we get narrow at the middle and fatter at the bottom. And in my butterfly, I like to draw the sections, like a lot of little smiles, kind of part of the way up that butterfly body. When we draw the wings, because the outside of the wing is a difficult shape to draw, so we're going to start with this section of the wing and we're going to just work from there. So this is going to be kind of a taller pointy oval, and then we're going to come back and meet the edge. Now we can use this edge to put our other shapes in there. So we can come and make this shape go down. It's kind of like a U or a banana, and then it just comes straight across at the top. Then we'll do a smaller one, and this one's sort of like a rounded rectangle at the bottom. And then I'm just going to close it at the top, just like that. And then this last one, it's gonna come out a little further. It's rounded, and then we close off the top. So that's the main section of our butterfly wing. Now we're gonna move over to the other side and do the same thing. And I'm gonna turn my paper upside down because that helps me. You don't have to, but I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna make sort of that same shape. So it's a mirror image there. And then we'll make our long U and kind of make this line parallel. And then our long, it's a little bit of a more square U. And then we'll bring that across. And then our last one, that's a U that kind of comes out a little further. And then we will close off that top. So now we've got the body and some sections made. So I'm going to flip back this way. Now we can start making the bottom part of our wing. So I'm going to start with this section here. So I'm going to make and this is sort of pointy, but it's a big long oval. So I just want one big long oval heading downward. At the bottom of this oval, let's do this. And then when we close it off, we're going to follow the contour of that one above it. Now we're going to come on the side. And we're going to put one here. So it's kind of like that long squared off U, and then we will connect the top. And then we'll do one more over here. So we'll start here. We'll kind of follow the contour of the shapes we've already put in, and when we get up to that section, we'll just close it off. So we're just creating these designs. Now we'll come and we'll do this one. So we'll come down and then we'll go ahead and close it off. And then we just have one more section left, and that's just to make a big long oval right next to that center section. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to stop a little higher than that one, and then just follow the contours of the other things that are already there. So that is that section. Now I'm going to flip it over because that's going to work a little bit better for me to make it symmetrical. So I'm going to do this same shape here. So that's the same shape as here. Excuse me. Then I like to start with this one. So I'm going to come down and around and back up. And then we'll follow the contour of that section that we already put in there. Then we can do this one. So we'll go down, around, up, and follow the contour of the center. And then we'll do the one on the side. So we'll go down, up, and follow that contour down. Then we can do kind of this larger one that goes all the way down. And then we follow the contour of the center one as we come up. Now, one more section. So let's do this one, and we're going to follow the contour here. And then it goes straight down and around and back. So now we have all of these little sections of the wing done. And if you look at the picture of the Monarch, you can see that there are a lot of little tiny sections. But first, I think we need to just draw the big edge of the wing. So bear in mind, you want a lot of space over here. So let's take, and remember, we're leaving a lot of space over here. And we're kind of going to come up and around. And then this wing just sort of goes right up here. And it follows the edges of the pieces that we already drew. And it's going to meet right at the head of that butterfly. So same thing over here, and you can turn your paper if you want to, but I'm just gonna follow mine so you can watch what I do. I'm gonna come way out because I know that I'm gonna need to fit a lot more little designs in there. And then I'm coming up, following the edge of those lines that I already made to the body of the butterfly. All right. And then for the bottom of the butterfly, this is the easy part. So you just kind of leave some space and you come down and you join it up there. Got it? All right, and then here, same thing. So we're just gonna take this one, bring it down, and join it up. And I want you to notice that my butterfly is not perfectly symmetrical, and I'm totally okay with that. All right. Now let's work on the little dots. So I'm going to put one little dot here. So we're about 2/3 of the way, and then one here. And then these sections are they're kind of little funky shapes. They're like oval squares. So there's 3 that come down right there. And we'll do the same thing here. And it doesn't matter if they're perfectly symmetrical. Now, on the side of that 3, let's do 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. So same deal. It's like a little funky triangle of spots. Here we go. And then above this little wing section, we're going to have 3 that are kind of rectangular. So let's do this. And another little bit of a rectangle. And another rectangle. So then same thing on the other side. A little squarish rectangle. A longer rectangle. And then a longer rectangle. And then we're going to go down to the bottom. This is the easy, simple part. We're just going to draw. And these don't have to be perfectly round. They just need to be sort of circular. We're just having a little border here at the bottom of these round spots. So that's on the bottom wing, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this bottom wing. I'm just going to make some round dots. So there's our bottom wing. Now, so a lot of the spots that we drew in are these. Now we're going to do these 2 little lines of wing spots. So we'll come in and we can do a row of small dots along the edge. You can kind of skip around. Let's put another one there. Little small dots that just border the edge. And then same over here. I'm going to flip my paper upside down because this just works better for me. So just a row of small dots right along the edge. And then we'll just have our, so you've got your small row. All right. Then we can put some more in through here if you have space. If you don't have space, don't worry about it. But if you do, let's put some more dots in here. You can see they're not perfectly round. They're very irregular, and that is a-okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to add in some dots. I think I need another dot there. I am just going to add in some dots where I feel like maybe I need some. Do we need one there? I think we do. All right, so that's all of my dots. And then I'm going to make some antennae. So they just go up and then they kind of go out to the side. So up and kind of out to the side. So that's our butterfly. We can take a look at what the body looks like. So the body has some little sections, which we've got down here. And let's see. There are spots on the top of the body too. So maybe let's add, I'm going to do a little spot here, little spot here, there and there. And maybe like that. The good thing about white spots is you can just paint right over them if you don't like them later. So we're gonna go with it and we are gonna see what happens. So I'm about ready to paint. I'm gonna go ahead and sign my name at this time. And then I'm gonna wait for my ink to dry and I'm gonna erase any of these pencil lines that I have left. You may not have pencil lines, but I do. All right, so now I'm ready to paint this butterfly. And when we look at our picture, we can see that we have this pretty orangey, yellowy, browny, golden color that's in the butterfly's wing sections. If you want to paint yours a different color, please do. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. Now, the challenge here is to get the pretty black lines. So I'm going to do all of the light sections first. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of water in here. And I'm going to make the perfect monarch butterfly color. So I'm going to use a little bit of orange. Let's look at it. Let's get that butterfly right over here and see if we can match it. So I see a lot of orange, a lot of yellow, so I'm going to mix this orange and yellow together. That's not quite it. I still need more yellow. And I like to mix it over in the lid of the paint because if I just dip out of here, sometimes the paint can be super thick and I don't always want that. Oh, now we're getting there, that pretty yellow orange. All right. I'm gonna add a little more yellow. Maybe a tiny bit more orange. Do we think we need to add any brown? I think we might need to add just a tiny bit of brown. Not a lot, just a little. That's perfect. So now we have this pretty golden brown color. It's not really golden brown, it's just kind of golden. And we want all of these sections plus these sections here in the wing. So these, this is why I'm doing it this way. Okay, so first we can paint in these sections. And it doesn't matter if we get paint outside the lines because we're gonna paint over that in black later, yay. All right, I feel like I need more yellow in here. Let's see, oh, that's pretty, okay. So I can paint all of these sections in my butterfly color. And I can be really messy, so this is kind of nice. I don't have to be really careful in all these lines. Yay, that's what I like. And then let's see, also, so these holes and this one, and these three big ones are all gonna be yellow. And the rest of them can be white. Maybe this one's also yellow. Okay, so then we do the same thing, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some yellow, I'm gonna water it down. And I'm just gonna kind of drop, I want these to be a little bit different color. And it looks like these ones on the edge there are just brown. So we'll have to water down some brown also. So let's get a little bit of brown, water it down. Make it really watery. And then I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna dab a little bit of that brown. And if it's too much brown, we can always do the trick where we go in with our brush and take away a little bit of that paint. Right? All right, and if we want to take away any of this yellow, same deal. We can do it. And then I'm leaving all my spots that are supposed to be white, white. So now I'm going to paint the other side of my butterfly's wing. So I'm going to paint this section. And you don't need to purposefully go out of the lines. Like, we don't need extra paint on here, but you don't have to be careful because we're going to go back and make that part black later that goes between the wings. This is working smarter, not harder. All right, so we want these ones. Great. Perfect. We just want to make sure that all of these sections get filled in nicely, that we don't leave any white. And then I'm going to go and grab a little bit of yellow and kind of brighten them up just a tiny bit. That's my favorite trick. All right, now let's see. All right, so we have this color and we're gonna do 2 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this little section of 4 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these ones here. And the rest of the dots on these top wings will be white. And then I'm going to bring just a little bit of brown into these sections. And because I don't want it to be that dark of brown, I'm going to come back, dry my brush out, and lift out some of that paint. I do want it to be sort of dark brown, so I don't want to lift out all the paint. But that will do it. Then we can turn our paper back around and work on these sections down here. So we'll use our same pretty nice orangey yellow color and just color in these sections down here. And I just want to make sure that I get all of those sections full of paint. It's okay if you go outside these lines because we're just going to come back in and do the inside border of this butterfly's wing all black. So we can just paint right over that. Easy peasy. Need a little more color in here. Perfect. All right. And then I'm gonna flip my paper again because I'm trying to keep my hand oils off the paper itself. So I'm coloring this section in. So this one's gonna be our nice pretty yellow. Our gold, this one's gonna be golden. This one, this one, this one, and this one. And I am just using the very tip of my brush on these little small sections. That helps me be sure that I don't put down too much paint. And like this one has a lot of paint, so what you can do is just pull some of that paint off and go paint another section with it. And again, I can stay inside this line if I want to, but I certainly don't have to. I am just doing that because I can. I don't know why I'm going back over here. Maybe I want it to be just a little bit darker. And I see a section here that I missed before. Ah! All right. If you see any other sections that you think need more color, go ahead and add that color. Sometimes as these edges dry, you'll see places that you missed. I'm certainly seeing that. Okay, this one I want a little bit darker. All right, so now we've got all of the spots that should be gold. They're painted, so we are good to go. I'm gonna also paint my background because what I don't wanna do is have to come in here and paint a background against this black edged wing. So I think my background is gonna be some greens. Oh, there's white in there, okay. Let's mix the green. My background's gonna be green. Yours gonna be like blue if you want your butterfly to be in the sky. Mine's kinda gonna be in the leaves. So I'm gonna make some green. I need kind of a lot of water for this. Got green. And I'm gonna mix a tiny bit of blue. So we don't need a lot of blue because we do want it to be pretty green. So green, a little bit of blue. There we go. And then maybe a tiny bit of black, not a lot, just a little. So green, blue, and black, here we go. Maybe more green. Okay. So we've got our green, blue, and black mixed together. It's mostly green, but it's a little bit of blue and a little bit of black. And that gives us more of that kind of a planty green. And I think I might like to use some salt on this. So just a moment, I'll be right back. Let me grab that. It's just out of arm's reach. So I'm gonna just maybe use some table salt later. We'll see how this goes down. All right, so I'm gonna dip into this green. And I'm kind of just brushing it on. And I can see that I have probably touched this paper a lot with my hands, and that's why this paint is resisting. Because the oil from my hands got on my paper. All right, so I am laying down a layer of green, and I can come right up to this edge, and I'm not trying to paint on the butterfly, but again, if I get inside that butterfly's boundary, it's not gonna be as big of a problem as if I had to go paint next to black paint there, right? So this is gonna be a little bit of an easier way to do things. All right, so I've painted kind of this quadrant of the paper. I don't want to paint over those spots though, because those are supposed to be white. So I don't want to have to go fix those later. All right. So I've got enough water down here in this quadrant. And I'm going to go ahead and throw some salt on there. And I don't want to put this whole packet of salt on my paper. I want a little bitty bit. A little bitty bit. And I'm just gonna sprinkle that down where my paper is wet. A little bit, I still have a lot left. Okay. So now I'm gonna jump back into just my regular green, and I'm just gonna put some dots. Just some green dots. Wherever my paint is wet. It's not gonna work if the paint's dried, so don't do that. But I'm just gonna put some dots of my pretty green. And that's just gonna be a little more interesting. And we can do the same thing with blue or yellow. So blue, I can go put a dot just here and there. And I'm just gonna let it kind of naturally go where it goes in this paint. If it's not spreading like you want it to, you can put a little more water on top of it, which is what I am doing here. All right, so now I'm going back to my very watery green, and I'm just gonna continue painting around this edge of the butterfly. With my very watery green. I'm just kind of painting this quadrant of the paper with my very watery green. And I'm going back over because I want to make sure this stays wet. So when I throw my salt on it, the salt will have somewhere to go. And I want to make sure I stress that you don't put too much salt on, because then it kind of just gets to be a gooey mess and it doesn't give us quite the same beautiful outcome as it will if we just use a smaller amount of salt. I know it's hard. I know that you really just want to throw that whole packet of salt on there. That does sound like fun. Do that on an experimental piece of paper. See what happens. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying perhaps for this art piece, don't do it. All right, so now I'm gonna put a little salt in my hand and I'm gonna sprinkle it over the part that I just painted that's wet. All right, and then I'm gonna go back in with my green first. So I'm dipping into my green paint and I'm gonna put some dots here and there of the green. Beautiful, beautiful, very nice. And then I'm gonna come back in with a little bit of blue. All right. Now blue can get kind of dark, so remember, if you need to, you can dip into your water and then go dip back over those spots where you put the blue and just help it get a little bit blendy. It's gonna do what it wants, but we can encourage it to do what we want it to do. I just want this to be a very melty blue and green background. All right, so now that I have the bottom done, I'm gonna flip my paper because I don't want to put my arm in this paint that is already there. All right, so now we just need to paint the rest with our watery green. So I'm gonna start over here. And I'm just going right next to the boundary of this butterfly. If I go over, it's all right. I'm just trying not to do it because habit. All right, I'm running low on my watery green, folks. So I come over about to this antenna, and now because it's gonna start drying out if I take too long, so I need to throw my salt down while it's still wet. So again, just a little bit of salt over that section. And then I'm gonna go back on my green and my blue. So I'll just put some dabs of green. Little dabs of green. And then also some blue. Particular rhyme or reason. And if you would like your blue to get a little more opened up, you can throw some more water on the paper. All right, so we're down to our last section, so you know what to do by now. Just go ahead and get your greenish color, your greenish blue color, and cover the remaining part. I might need to make some more of this paint. Don't think I left myself enough. And while it's wet, I'm coming in with my salt. I'm gonna put it in my hand first though, because I don't trust myself with this packet. I'm gonna dump too much, and then I'll just let a little bit of it fall out of my palm. And I will come back in with my green. Nice. Got some more hand oil problems up here, so I'm just gonna kind of brush the page more and then come back in with my green. And then I'm gonna do the same with my blue. And then I'm going to go over top of that blue just a little bit with some water, just to get it going in the direction I want to go in. I'm not going to tell it where to go. I'm going to tell it that I just want it to go somewhere. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. All right. So this section is done of our butterfly. And what's left is for us to paint in the black parts. So I'm gonna dry this a little bit because I don't want to start painting that black edge and have it run into the background. So I'm gonna fan this just a little bit. I don't want to bring out my hairdryer because if I do that, the salt isn't gonna do its thing. So I'm gonna let this dry, and when I get to a good dry background place, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna paint the black part in on the butterfly. All right, so I think my background, it's not completely dry, but I think it's dry enough that I can go ahead and I can start putting that black in there. So I'm gonna go into my black, but I'm gonna water it down over here because I don't want it to be super thick. I need it to travel from the end of my paintbrush onto the paper. So I want it to be a little bit watery, and I want there to be plenty of it because I have a lot of little butterfly places to paint. If you're not comfortable painting in these sections, you can always go in with a black marker and complete the black sections of your butterfly. I think that's absolutely fine. All right. So I'm gonna make sure that my brush is not too saturated with paint. And I am gonna start working just to fill in the leftover spaces in my butterfly wing. And so some salt accidentally got in the middle of my butterfly, so I'm just gonna wipe that away. So I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna be kind of careful with this black, and I'm just gonna come down the wing. And I just suggest turning your paper however you feel the most able to make these little lines. So it's vitally important that the center parts of your butterfly are dry for you to do this, because you don't want this paint to run. So I'm just coming in and I'm getting these inner wing sections and kind of getting the black lines in there where they would be. And since we've already painted our sections and they're nice and dry, we don't have to worry. And we can kind of trim these sections down and make them a little smaller if we need to, for the sake of line perfection, like this. So once you kind of bring this down, you can straighten that line up a little bit. Mine was a little wavy, so I'm trying to straighten it a little tiny bit. And just keep a little bit of paint on your brush. Don't put too much paint on there, because if you do, what can happen is it can blob and you can't make these small lines that you're trying to make. I'm just going to outline here. I'm trying not to put my hand in the wet part of my painting, but I did a little bit there. And I definitely don't want to paint that upper edge if there's any danger that that paint is still a little bit wet. I can always come back and do that later. I'm just concentrating on being in between all of these little sections of my wing with this nice dark black. And remembering that these don't have to be a real specific shape. So if you need to cut in a little bit extra, you can. So I'm just going to come right around these little sections and kind of paint around them, give them a little border, and then fill the middle sections in with my black paint. I'm trying not to come too close to this edge because I don't know how thoroughly dry that paint is. So I'm just going to stay over in this zone for now. And you can twist your paper if you need to make it easier to get your brush angled in to any little sections. But you can see it really starts looking nice when you get the black in there, doesn't it? It's very pretty. And if you need to mix a little more black, you always can. Just pull some out of there, put it in here, and make sure that you get enough water in there to get it to where it's fluid enough to paint in these tiny spaces, because that can be a problem. This is very tedious, but I just kind of get lost in it. It's very relaxing to me. And at the end, I'll probably just go line around the whole outside of the butterfly. For now, I'm going to work on closing in these little dots. My little white spaces. And even if you've already started and you feel like this is too much for me today, you can leave it for another day. Or if you want, you can just grab a black marker and do this. That might be a little easier. Sometimes my hands are having a great day today. They're not very shaky. They're pretty steady, but if I was having a day where my hands are kind of shaky, this would not be a great day for me to paint. I would just pull out my fine tip Sharpie and I would go to town. So if it's a day where your hands aren't really feeling like being super duper on point, that's okay. So then I'm going to turn this because it's going to make it easier for me to get at this side of it. In these little sections. Sometimes with in-depth stuff like this where it was really difficult to do the drawing part, sometimes it can be nice to take a little break from it and then go back and finish it later. So I'm just going to keep rotating so that the tip of my brush, I can see it and it's in a position that is easy for my hand to work with it. I don't know if you can hear the squeaking dog in here, but I think she's very jealous that someone outside of my door maybe is getting to play with a toy that she would like to play with. I might go let her out in a moment. This is just really starting to look nice as that black gets filled in. It's looking more and more monarchy. And what's good is while we're working so hard over here, all of this paint is drying. So this paint here at this edge, I think is dry enough for me to go ahead and line this edge. So you probably don't need to watch me do every little tiny bit of this. I'll probably speed up the next part. You may also be going a little more quickly than me. I tend to go pretty slowly on projects like this. But that's all right. We all have our own paces and our own ways of working. whatever is very relaxing and is making you happy is the way that you should do it. This is probably the upper limit of the brush that came with this paint set. It comes to a nice sharp point, but I've also used it a lot, so it's not as sharp and pointy as it once was. I just want to finish out this one wing and show you how pretty this can be. So I'm just gonna line this edge a little tiny bit. Just a minute, Ginger. Just a minute, friend. Line that edge, and then I'm gonna line this edge really nicely. You can see how when we get the whole thing painted in, that's gonna be really gorgeous. So I'll be back. All right, so I finished painting in the wing sections of my butterfly, and then I just used a fine tip Sharpie pen like this. It's a Pilot Ultra Fine Point Permanent. I used that to color in the body, and I think I left some little sections there so you can see the little body sections and kind of tell where the butterfly is. So now I'm going to remove the tape, and this one was different because I didn't tape it to my work surface. I just taped the paper itself. So it's going to be a little different than what we usually do, and the border is going to be a little thicker. And I want to thank my good friend Julie, who is the queen of the butterflies, for providing this beautiful picture of these monarchs before we get to our very final reveal. There we go. All right. So that's it. I think it looks great. I'm very proud of it, and I hope that yours turned out well. And if it's a little off, if it's a little asymmetrical, that's perfectly fine. I enjoyed making this butterfly with you, and I hope to see you back for some other tutorials. Thanks for taking this time to challenge yourself. I know this wasn't a really easy activity to do, and it probably took quite a bit of concentration, but I'm very proud of you. I'm glad that you let your brain do this work and that you took this time for yourself today. Have a good one.